guilty of crime.
Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back, y'all. It's almost Friday. Come on, guys. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Get a membership if you can. I appreciate you guys. What's up? I got Ryan Hawkins, a new member, YouTube. Thank you so much. Mama Fee, how you doing? Mary Wilson, and Anna Gregor. I'm going to say, hopefully I said it right. Welcome, everybody. What's up? Good to see you all. All right. Yeah, hit the like button. Let's get everybody all hyped up. If you're just chilling and listening, or you're doing your chores, or you're cooking, or whatever, you're all good. Just listen in the background. Today, we're going to talk about Scott Peterson. Shocking twist. Some of you know, some of you don't. It's about the DNA on the duct tape. But Scott Peterson is trying to spin a story and he's trying to fool everybody. I don't think if you know the Scott Peterson story that it would fool anybody. All right. Now he's trying to twist this whole thing about Lacey and Connor being kidnapped for days and then being killed later. All right. Doesn't add up, but we do have DNA on the duct tape that's finally been ruled into evidence, and there can be a new trial set according to the LA Innocence Project. We'll listen to that for a little bit. We're going to watch an episode with Nancy Grace that came out less than 2 weeks ago that shows you what he's trying to say and all the things stacked against him. Now, this case was in Modesto. Many years ago, he got the death penalty. If you don't know this case, we're going to go over it again. All right, don't worry. But before this, we're going to go over the Menendez brothers update, guys, because a lot of people don't understand what's happening in that case. And I want to show you and then break it down for you. I'm going to do that in the very beginning. Now, I don't normally do two cases in one. I don't do that. Every once in a while, I'll bring you some information as it comes in, but gotta do this. LA Innocence Project, or LA Innocence is Scott Peterson. This is because of that whole Menudo uncovering, and they've finally been set. Instead of life without the possibility of parole, guys, they will be eligible for parole after 50 years. Now, they've been in there for 30 with good time. I'm betting it's going to be soon. Foxy, if you're here, you know the mayor in that area. You know what's going on, and you know that they probably will get some sort of clemency, something. We're going to talk about that, guys. What's up? Both of these cases are wild because I lived in Modesto when the Scott and Lacey Peterson happened. It blew up everywhere. He got the death penalty, and then it got overturned because California no longer has the death penalty. Now we're looking at a new trial. Man, what's up, Teresa? How you doing? I'm glad that you guys are here today. Keep on meandering in. We're going to get into the Menendez brothers, and we're going to see how cocky Mark Garagos is now. And then we're going to go back to the Scott Peterson case, because guess what, guys? Mark Garagos was also in that case as well. They hired one of the best attorneys, and Scott still got the death penalty. But he, and I say he, Mark Garagos, is as cocky and arrogant as ever, guys. All right. So, yeah, meander on in, swimming in circles, everybody meandering. We do have a couple new mascots today, guys. We brought this one yesterday. This is our troll mascot. It's got 4 arms or legs, or I don't even know if it's arms and legs, but it's an ugly, cute little guy for the trolls. And then we got a new Jen, the potato soda, which we can dress up any way we want. And she's got handcuffs, guys. This is like the ugliest potato I've ever seen in my life. And these handcuffs that somebody got me for this potato were not easy to get. This was the only pair of handcuffs available to them anywhere in the United States, anywhere that they could find. So this ugly potato, which is high, by the way, I put the high eyes on there, looking high with these ugly ass glasses and those ugly teeth and the handcuffs, guys. I'm going to figure out how to make it look better for tomorrow, but this is just like the ugliest potato. Doesn't even have all of its stuff yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to put this ugly ass potato together. All right. So this is the new mascot. I'll do it. Yeah, I'm spoiled because people send me stuff. I mean, I don't give my address out anymore, obviously, but one of my people sent me this lovely toy. I got a whole box of potato head treasures anyway I want, and these handcuffs that came separate. I didn't even know potatoes had handcuffs. So there you guys go. Tomorrow we'll have this ready for the episode about, the Madeline Soto case. All right, guys. So welcome everybody. Yeah, the glasses, man. The glasses and the handcuffs are perfect. We're foreshadowing Jen Soto's arrest. All right, guys. Welcome everybody. How you doing? I do love the new potato. Shout out to the Crime Crew family member that's fairly new that sent that to me. I do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You definitely spoil me. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Love you all. I am going to get a P.O. Box, but it's $170 a month. So I'm trying to incorporate that into all the other costs, and then we'll do that. All right. Everything costs something and then some, right? All right, guys. Thank you, Lynette, Spurs, and let's get into the Menendez first, right at the very top of the hour. We'll get into that. You guys, they weren't allowed in the courtroom, so there's only drawings, which is fine with me. I want to document it. Mark Garagos is going to come on. Menendez brothers are now officially eligible for parole resentencing. All right. A lot of you guys want this. A lot of you guys support this. Some don't. Let me know in chat if you do. Let's go.
This case, because just minutes ago, Tom Waite, he was up there in the courtroom. This was supposed to be a 2-day resentencing hearing. The judge making that decision just moments ago. Tom, tell me about it.
It was super, super intense and dramatic inside that courtroom. I mean, you could hear a pin drop when the judge was ready to make his resentencing decision. As you said, 50 years to life, which means they are technically eligible now for parole. But oh my gosh, the lead up to it was really, really powerful too, because you had both of the Menendez brothers speaking before the court. And at one point, Eric's feet actually died, but we'll get to that in just a second. Lyle spoke first. He was very emotional. He talked about feeling that he knew that it was not justified, the murders, that he took ownership and responsibility for it. I'm just going through my notes, which are very difficult to read here, but no excuses, no justification. The choice to not ask for help was my choice, he said, to point the gun, to reload the gun. He said, these are my choices. I take responsibility. Now, it was interesting to hear him say that because one of the primary, if not the primary, argument from the DA's office was that the brothers did not take responsibility for their crimes, but they did say over and over again, I did this. I am sorry. I know I robbed my parents of.
All right, so yeah, they haven't done that before, guys, and thank you guys for showing either support or not. If you don't think that they should be let out, they do have families. I gotta say, they have families. They've been married for many, many years, and I mean, I don't think they're gonna go out and recommit any crimes. I don't think they're gonna be a menace to society at this point, but it is a bit crazy. It's a bit crazy to have lived through all this, watch this, and then be here to hear that they went from never getting out and a brutal slaughter of their parents, to the Menendez brothers and the Menudo members coming in and, breaking the news that their father really was into all that. And then Scott Peterson, never would have thought that in a million years. And yeah, definitely crazy. You can get married in prison, right? So here's Garrigo's drawing. Wait till you see him. It's great. If you haven't seen this, watch
a
it.
full life. I know that this is my choice. Those are things. And during this time, Lyle was very emotional. The family could be heard crying. There was people were wiping their noses. They were getting choked up. I could hear them. I was sitting about just a few feet over. I was sitting with them at one point when I first got into the courtroom. I was seated with them, and I realized very quickly.
And here comes Garrigos.
There we go. Yes.
So we're going to listen to what Garrigos has to say, their defense attorney.
Okay.
Poor Diane with the walker.
Poor Diane.
Well, you know what it sounds from listening to Tom Wade and Jazz.
Yeah, I do want to watch this before we explain anything. I don't want to spend the whole episode on this, Foxy. I probably will do a whole other episode on the Menendez brothers, and then we can talk about when, all that stuff. But right now, I'm just bringing to you what the resentence is going to be. Van Nuys. I mean, I grew up in that area, Foxy. I understand. I'm also in California, so I understand it quite a bit. I just want to let you know what happened, and then we can get into details, I think, on another episode. All right. And yeah, kids are still being abused, but I still think that was fantastic how that all came out. When I watched that Menudo documentary, I was pretty blown away by that evidence, because none of that we knew about back then. I mean, what other way could you corroborate a story like that, right? I mean, there's too much going on in that case. So, and just awful abuse, by the way. Trigger warning if you guys are triggered by these topics.
Deal there, according to what the brothers said on that videotape, they did admit to killing their parents, and they did talk about being remorseful, which is something that D.A. Hockman talked about. He didn't feel that they were remorseful.
It's been a remarkable couple of years. This month, actually, 2 years ago, and I don't know where Cliff went, but there he is. Hold on. Come here, Cliff. Come here. Only when Cliff gets up here.
Hey, guys.
Cliff Gardner. 2 years ago, Cliff and I were talking about another case, and he mentioned the Menendez brothers, and it was a case that I obviously had followed. And he said he had prepared, and he was about to file a pro per, believe it or not, writ of habeas corpus. 2 years ago, I said, well, you know what, Cliff, we talked about it. We enjoy working together, now have an undefeated record.
He's so arrogant.
Continue to have. And we decided, let's do it.
And you notice how I smile when I say he's arrogant and cocky, because that's what works for him, guys. You see him here, and then we're going to go back to the Peterson case, and it works for him as a high-profile defense attorney. So when I'm laughing about that, so cocky. Listen to what he says here. It's so crazy. And yeah, SA was not talked about like that. But I do have to say, in defense of the boys, I absolutely believe that the mom knew about the abuse, if not participated in some of it, like Jen Soto, and her life shouldn't have been taken, but she should have been held accountable. What's up, Ecotherapy, aka Katie? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Yeah, the Scott Peterson one, I had to get on that, and then you know about the Menendez brothers, I'm sure. All right. Garrigos, man. Garrigos is everywhere.
I don't think he, who does nothing but post-conviction work,
or
me,
not.
who I hate doing post-conviction work, ever thought 2 years later we'd be standing here after 35 years with this wonderful family who I've grown to love like my own family. And now we see the pot at the end of the rainbow, so to speak, or their freedom. I want to do a hat tip to Judge Jessic, who was able to cancel out all the noise surrounding this, all of the grandstanding, all of the political back and forth.
Yes,
And he
yes.
did what the code section said he should do. He did what justice said should happen. And he struck the special circumstance and he sentenced them to 50 to life, which means they're immediately eligible. For those who don't know, in a couple of weeks, there is already a clemency hearing set. There's also a response due in the habeas next month.
Yes.
Next month. And so all bets are still on. The resentencing has happened. I actually made a call. First call I made was to Leslie Abramson. I couldn't get a hold of Leslie. It went straight to voicemail.
Now, you guys know Leslie. If you don't know her, you've probably heard the name, that curly, wild hair, very outspoken woman, defense attorney at the time. People didn't want to hear any of her crap. Now, she was babying the boys. There was a reason she was, because she heard about the abuse firsthand. But many people wanted to shut her up. All right, guys. Yeah, very political time. O.J. Simpson had gotten off. The retrial came after OJ, the whole OJ chase, and then they did a retrial, and nobody wanted to hear about the essay, and bam, done. End of story. Not so much the end of story anymore.
I have long admired Leslie. I think about her often in this courthouse, actually, because one of the last trials she did was in this courthouse. She did say something a number of years ago that no amount of TikTokers was going to ever change anything. And so I was calling to tease her. And so, Leslie, I will tell you, it's a whole different world we live in now. And one of the things that I think is important is to recognize that, like the legislature has done, we have evolved. This is not the 90s anymore. We have a more robust understanding of a lot of things. And I hat tip to the family, and I'll let them, after we answer a couple of questions, speak about what this means to them. I just know that on a day like today, that redemption is possible. And to those, you saw X-rated talk today, you saw kind of the ridiculous nature of the cross-examination. You can turn anything on its head. The fact is, the Menendez brothers have done remarkable work, and today is a great day after 35 years.
Did you talk to Eric and Lyle really quick after this? What's the reaction?
I told them to call me on their burner phone.
You guys have to face the parole board instead of them walking free tonight.
Yeah, you guys, he loves the public. He loves the cameras. But, a guy like that, he's helping them, right? He's comfortable. We're going to see him next in the Scott Peterson case. You say that his daughter is one of the trial lawyers for Diddy. And Teresa, this is definitely a different world when you got TikTokers, when you got people like in the Karen Reed case, Turtle Boy, all of her supporters. Now, this trial with the Karen Reed case is much different, right? A burner phone. Pretty funny. Now, I think Scott Peterson is hoping to jump on the bandwagon of 2025 and that people will forget what a terrible liar he is and all the evidence of what he did to Lacey and Connor. But I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. So, yeah, do me a favor as you meander on in or meander on out. Hit the like button, guys, and then share when you're done here. All right.
I argued, and I still believe that they should be out. Mark Scaragus, how are you? Hi. So I understand what's happening.
I have.
The governor would only have that ability constitutionally if the parole board does it. Right now, what is pending is, because it's 50 to life, they're immediately eligible. The first thing that is set is the clemency hearing, which is, I believe, on June 13th. So the clemency board, and this is something new, will make a recommendation to the governor, and then the governor will take action either before or after. So, yes, Jim.
This thing is great.
said it's never going to happen. You said they will be resentenced. This is a huge victory for you and for the family, clearly. What do you think a realistic timeline is now to finally see freedom for brothers?
I've said ever since my failed prediction of Thanksgiving dinner that 2025 would be their year. I mean, they got caught, ironically, they've been caught in politics 30 years ago in a DA's race. They got caught in politics now in 2024. And I'm hopeful now that Judge Jessic did what he was supposed to do. And I'm hopeful that now that the right thing will be done and they'll walk out. You know, they've got a family, and I think the takeaway for me today was that the family, this has become, their trauma has become kind of the subject of prurient interest. But they are a real family, real people who have lived through unimaginable horrors. And I'm hopeful and glad that we're one huge step closer to bringing the boys home. Thanks. Yes.
Are you concerned about the testimony getting held up on appeal?
No, I'm not concerned with that. I think at this point, the record is such that the code section calls for this. This was from my mind, this was the minimum that they should get. It also, somebody mentioned this to me in the courtroom just now. This is a decision that I think will reverberate in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
One of the things that we
Now, I think it's kind of long overdue, guys. With back then it was like cover up all the SA. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It doesn't matter what level of power they have. We're seeing a big boomerang come back around, right? When you see Diddy, when Diddy's probably never gonna get out, and I'm just saying that out of like the crimes that I see he committed, and they have him on trial for. When you see that, it wouldn't have been possible in the 90s. They would have probably swept it under the rug and just moved forward. But nowadays, they're making examples out of people and situations like that. And I think they're making an example out of this case to say that they're not going to let SA continue to be, everybody to know about it and let people continue to do it. So that tends to happen every 20 years or so. The boomerang swings around, and I think that's what's happening now with this case.
We have argued all along, and what the judge said today, the judge commented today, this is one of the most remarkable, and he used that term, remarkable transformations. And he said, while the crime was truly horrific and remarkable, the 35 years since, what they have accomplished is remarkable with no hope. And we've said that since day one. And so with no hope, this encourages people who are incarcerated to make the right decisions, to take the right path. So it's just a win-win on so many levels. And I will let the family talk. I could not, yes.
Mark,
I have not talked yet to Joan, but I'm hoping I'll let the family say that. I'll let the family say that.
I need to smoke a cigarette. Mark, we have a fucking lighter.
Hi everyone.
Mark,
This is a good day.
All right, guys. So, the majority of people are happy about this. The family's happy. In a month, we're going to find out if they're going to get released on parole. Now, I don't see the Gypsy and Nick case similar to this. I'm not free Nick supporter. Gypsy, I think the moment Gypsy got out and took to the social media platform and all the stuff, all the new channels surrounding her, all the episodes surrounding her, it's kind of tainted how I feel about the whole situation. So for that case, I'd like to stay out of. I do not think that because Gypsy got out, that Nick should automatically be released or re-looked at. Not one bit. I'm sorry. I'm strong and firm on that. We're talking about Nicholas Godejohn and Gypsy, I'm just going to call her Gypsy. Gypsy Rose and Nicholas Godejohn. I don't think those two have any place even close to this. So just my opinion. And I try to stay out of covering that case. No, they're not. They're not, and I don't see any similarities to any of it. All right.
It's Mr. Hockman's PR person.
Mark,
No, can you do me a favor? No, I don't have a license. He does right there. Okay, you're welcome. You tell Mr. Hockman does. He's right over there. He's hiding in the bushes.
We have a lot of thank yous today from the family. Mark Garagos, Cliff Gardner.
All right, so we're gonna go with that. We're gonna say thank you. You guys see all that. I will do another episode. I'll do an episode on this next month when we hear what the finality is. But a lot of people were confused and they're like, well, what does that mean? They did 30 years. What? I don't even understand the significance. So they got another 50 years. People were confused. No, they should be eligible for parole right about now. It says after 50 years. So there's a documentary that came out recently, and the first time we're ever hearing Scott Peterson, which is not true because we've heard Scott Peterson talk and talk and talk. He went on Barbara Walters. He went on a bunch of talk shows. You guys, if you don't know this case, Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson, Connor, he took their lives. He's convicted, so I'm not going to say in my opinion. He's a convicted killer of Lacey and Connor, okay? But this is him saying that this is what he thinks happened to Lacey, and this all spirals into now getting a new trial. If that DNA and the evidence comes back, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch, all right? If you don't know this case at all, well, you'll find out. All right, let's listen to this. And just tell me if you think this guy is genuine.
Scott Peterson is breaking his silence.
I wish I could say I was stronger, but all that stuff did take a toll on me.
In the new Peacock docuseries, Face to Face, the 51-year-old speaks out from behind prison walls, arguing police ignored critical evidence that exonerates him, and describes in disbelief the moment he...
And there was Mark Garagos back then, guys. All right, so it's one piece of evidence, a piece of duct tape that had a foreign DNA, which DNA was not what convicted him. It was all circumstantial. And back then it was a different time. We didn't just have, okay, let's test the DNA. Okay, it comes back in a few days. All right, we're good. No. The moment that the whole scandal of his girlfriend or the mistress came out, it was done. Right. And yeah, I agree with that too. All of that I agree with. Let's go. Listen to this guy.
He was convicted.
I was totally expecting to go home that day. I was staggered by it.
Peterson was sentenced to death in 2004 for the 2002 murders of his wife Lacey and their unborn son Connor, after their bodies washed up in San Francisco Bay, near where he said he'd gone fishing months earlier.
There's certainly times that I become a wreck.
At times emotional. Peterson pushing back on the portrayal of him as an uncaring and detached husband.
I was so angry at the media because the reports just weren't factual. I strive not to show any emotion in the court because I didn't want to, see them break me.
He also speaks out about his former girlfriend, Amber Fry, whose testimony was crucial to establishing a motive.
They said that you killed Lacey because you didn't want to be married and you didn't want to be a father.
That's so offensive. It's so disgusting.
I certainly regret cheating on Lacey.
Now, he can't even say offensive and disgusting without having a smile on his face, guys. And yeah, it definitely hit personal because not only was I in Modesto, but, there's this model family, Lacey, beautiful Portuguese. They're starting a family, both good looking. And she goes missing on Christmas Eve, guys. So, the whole Modesto wasn't that big, and everybody came out in Modesto for this case. All right. So, it's just, he told Amber Fry that he had already lost his wife and he hadn't lost her yet. So, all right. Good to see you, Melissa. I'm glad you have a TV and that you're at home. Yeah. He can't even smile without saying something that it just doesn't match up, but that's beside the point.
Why did you keep talking to Amber Fry after Lacey disappeared?
I was searching for my family, stay in contact with Amber, I thought, and she wouldn't get into the picture, complicate, ruin the search.
In 2020, Peterson's death sentence was reduced to life without parole. Now backed by the LA Innocence Project, he's petitioning for a new trial, arguing.
Not only did he go fishing on Christmas Eve, but his wife's body and the fetus washed up on the shore where he went fishing on Christmas Eve. I don't believe in coincidences in true crime like this, guys. All right. He wasn't searching. He was talking to Amber Fry. Remember, he was at the Eiffel Tower on New Year's Eve, but he wasn't. He was on TV at his wife's vigil, and he was telling Amber that he was in the Eiffel Tower. That's such a liar. Everything is just such a lie. Yeah, he looks terrible to me as well. He thinks he's hot shit. Just saying.
It was burglars robbing the home across the street who killed Lacey.
I believe that Lacey went over there to see what was going on. That's the first mistake.
So there's renewed.
All right, so that's his new thing. He believes that those burglars did that to Lacey, kidnapped Lacey, and she was pregnant with Connor, and kept her alive for a few days, and then took their lives, dumped the body. That's what he says. All right. That's what he's saying. So yeah, again, I don't believe anything that guy says. I think I got one more clip that I want you guys to see. And then, hold on, let me go to that. And then we're going to go to the episode. You guys have been waiting a while for this. I don't even know if Krista's here today. But Krista, you've been wanting to see this, so I hope you're here, or I hope you show up, because every time I rescheduled this, you were bummed. All right, let's just get into this. It's fairly long. We've been here for 30 minutes already. All right, guys. Yeah, Connor would have been born. I mean, he came out. He was a full fetus when he came out. So, all right, this will recap for you everything.
With us.
How can I help you? Yes, my son-in-law called.
Sorry,
He was
guys.
playing golf this morning at 9:30. My daughter's been missing since this morning. She's 8 months pregnant. She took her dog for a walk in the park. The dog came home with just a leash on.
So the dog came back without your daughter?
Right.
What is your daughter's name?
Scott Peterson.
No, your stepdaughter.
Lacey Peterson.
Lacey, P-T-E-R-S-O-N, right?
P-E-T-E-R-S-O-N.
And she's white, black, Hispanic, Asian?
She's Portuguese and white.
How old is she?
She's 26.
So what time did she leave the house and didn't come back?
That we don't know. We just got a call from our son-in-law. Said he left this morning at 9:30 to play golf. He was at home about a half hour ago. Nowhere around.
Okay, so she went to walk the dog.
Walked and didn't in that park.
And she's 8 months pregnant, you said?
Pardon?
She's 8 months pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
8.
All right, so she's 8 months pregnant, guys. And if you're not convinced that he did it, then maybe if they do another trial, I don't even think they're going to get to a trial, to be honest, guys, because of the duct tape. They're hanging on one piece of DNA that may or may not be compromised. All right, this is not Scott Peterson, the staircase. This is Scott Peterson that took his wife and unborn child. Now he can be set free if they have another trial and find that. All right, yeah. I lived in Modesto at the time. Hey, you know what? For some reason, the LA Innocence Project thinks that he's innocent, and other people do too. It seems to be. I don't think that he should have been convicted because he cheated, but I do think he should be convicted on the evidence that he was convicted on, and we're going to hear more right now.
Months pregnant. Did it ever strike you, joining me, an all-star panel, but there are 3 guests that everybody wants to talk to. No offense to the other guests. Joining us is juror number 4, and I guess we can reveal his name now, Mike Belmasieri joining us. Also with me, Al Brachini, detective on the case. That name is dedicated to memory forever and also tattooed on my brain. John Bueller, another detective on the Scott Peterson case. I mean, let me just start with you, John. Did it strike you at the very beginning? Why isn't her husband calling 911?
Well, yeah, there were a lot of things that struck us with him. His behavior was very unusual from the start. And even when Al was dealing with him, there were a lot of things that came up that we just don't see that often when we're dealing with people that are suffering a loss like this, even though he didn't.
All right, guys, seems like to be the textbook case, right? People that are guilty tend not to call 911. Now, we don't have that. We can't document every single case, that somebody didn't call 911, but I can probably document 9 cases where the person did not call 911, someone else did, they relied on them, and they turn out to be guilty. And yes, hello, my beautiful Leo twin Sharon. This is live. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, she definitely does. But Nancy's an OG. She's lived through some stuff, guys.
And no, he knew she was dead, but nobody else did.
You say something like that, John Bueller, you can't just drop a bomb and then not put out the fire. What thing struck you right off the bat?
Well, when you know this, Nancy, and
no, remember, this is a juror. This is juror number 4. So he's going to tell you a little bit about what struck him. And he got to see the evidence, guys.
Most of your viewers do too. When people have a emergency like this in the family and somebody they loved is missing, and they're frantic. They're just all over the place. They got 100 questions for us. They're constantly bugging us about why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? We only have so many resources available, and we're trying to answer their questions and do the job at the same time. But the only one of all these people, whether it was Lacey's friends or family or any of the associates, the only one who wasn't frantic about this the whole time was Scott. And that is unusual. We've seen it before. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but it's just one more piece of circumstantial evidence that convinced us.
It's all circumstantial, guys.
And then obviously it can convince Mike and the other juries, the other jury members, that he had done it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing you told me about Bueller that I didn't know, and I thought I knew every fact of the case, was that once Lacey and Connor's bodies had washed up on the shore, her in horrible decomposition, and baby Connor like a pristine little baby doll, like one of those plastic little baby dolls you get at the Dollar Tree. He was in perfect shape. You tell Peterson, we just got the DNA back. The body is Lacey. And what did he say within minutes? I'll take a double with cheese fry and a vanilla milkshake at the In-N-Out. Within minutes. He wanted a double.
Now, he really did do that. If you watch the interrogations, when they brought him in there, they're having a chat with him, and he was just hungry, guys. He was hungry. He didn't, I mean, again, this is all circumstantial back in the 90s. They didn't really have DNA, and the DNA that they did have wasn't tested. Also, I wanted to shout out to Sharon for gifting the 5 guilty of crime memberships. I gifted them for her, but she sent me the money. So thank you. Yes, this is the detective. All right. Casey Anthony's mom had to call first too. Yeah, you guys, we should just start citing the cases in chat right now. Yeah, he didn't go extra for the vanilla milkshake. Maybe his stomach was upset that day. Maybe he was lactose intolerant.
Double. You know what? When I was told my fiance was killed, and at that moment I didn't know it had been a murder. I thought it was a car crash. I don't think I ate again for I don't even know how long. I lost down to 89 pounds. I remember the first thing I consumed. It was some orange juice. I don't know how much longer after that. But he was happy to get a double within minutes of learning that dead body, those horribly decomposed remains, were Lacey. Albertini joining me, a name that many people have only read about or heard about. Albertini leading along with Bueller the investigation into Lacey and Connor's disappearance. Al, did it ever strike you right at the get-go? Why isn't Peterson calling 911?
I don't know if that struck me as much as some of the other things, but I mean, he was out. His father-in-law told him go check the neighbors. He did what he was told. He forgot what he was doing. I mean, first neighbor he thought he was golfing when he was fishing, but
first he was going to go golfing, then he went fishing, and guess what, guys? The circumstantial evidence includes cinder blocks that he made. He made his own concrete blocks that were weight, right, for the boat, an anchor. So those concrete blocks made in his garage were also found out there, and they were also found in the garage. So all this circumstantial evidence that we're talking about is pretty heavy circumstantial evidence. Again, you don't go out fishing on Christmas Eve and then in that exact spot the bodies wash up in that exact spot, and they're tracking your car, and you go travel to that spot. You drive over there, it's 2 hours away. You look out over the bay, you're looking for bodies, and then you leave, guys. Come on. Yes, he made anchors, and they found the evidence in his garage. All right, there's so much circumstantial evidence, and you didn't really need DNA then for that.
That didn't strike me, but what did strike me was he wouldn't take a polygraph. He said he would on that night, on the December 24th, then he refused on the 25th. And then he made us get a search warrant to search his house on the December 26th, search his phone, search his computer. And it was all, I told him, it's like, we want to just check and see if maybe Lacey had a stalker, maybe she had a boyfriend you don't know about, maybe there was some strange things in the house that we couldn't look for on the 24th. And he made us get a warrant. And so that was, and he refused the poly. So those were some red flags right in the beginning. Still didn't push me over the edge thinking that she was dead or that he did it. But those were, besides coming straight home from fishing and taking the dirty clothes out of the washer and washing his own clothes, just his clothes. I mean, those were all red flags too. But
just his clothes. That's a whole nother can of worms right there.
And I was going to report on a pickleball incident that happened at Mule Creek, guys. So at Mule Creek, the headlines were Scott Peterson gets beat up in pickleball fight. He really was playing pickleball, and he really did get in the fight, but he didn't really get beat up that bad. It was kind of a few punches. The guy got him in the face. It looked bad. And then the guy goes on and reports on court TV that Scott Peterson's at Mule Creek, and he didn't want to beat him up because Scott Peterson has pool at Mule Creek, and he can get rid of anybody. And then I talked to somebody that works at Mule Creek, and they said it's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of hype. There was a pickleball incident. Nobody was really beat up, and Scott Peterson doesn't have any pool at Mule Creek to get rid of a prisoner that beats him up. He has nothing. He's just an old guy that hangs out all day in the pods with other criminals. All right, guys? So I didn't even report on that because it was such nonsense. And it was like an hour episode of just nonsense. So I couldn't do it.
That he suddenly turned neatnik and only wanted to wash his clothes. See, I knew he did laundry, but I didn't remember he only washed his own clothes. Mike Bill Masieri joining us, juror number 4, former chief of staff with the Marine Corps. I remember in jury selection, I wanted you because chief of staff Marine Corps, okay, they don't play, all right? Mike, did it strike you right at the get-go when you're sitting there listening to that 911 call and you think, where was he? Why didn't he call the moment he realized his wife was missing?
Well, Nancy, for myself, I like
now, Marissa, I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you for a second, and they call Menedez for a reason. You're absolutely right. But in order for them to have done what they said, there's going to have to be DNA evidence, and there's going to have to be some kind of proof that they had Lacey and they held her for days before they dumped her. There's got to be proof of that. So we can all watch this together and see as it comes out, and it's probably going to be a big nothing burger. Not a co-burger, but a nothing burger. And by the way, I think they have the right man in the co-burger case. Thank God the trial's starting.
To listen to everything and finish the story and make a decision. My feeling was I wasn't there. I didn't know what was going on, but it was strange. But not so strange that I would think he was doing anything that wasn't right, so to speak. Could have been out looking, could have been doing a lot of things. Ron Kransky made the call.
And I absolutely wait for that day. Katie, I'm glad that you looked into the pellet document. I think LA Innocence Project has been working on this for years, and I hope that they reflect deeper on it and that they test the DNA and they test everything they need to shut this man up and say, okay, dude, you're on death row. You're lucky you got off in the first place, and let's move on, right? Because I feel like we're wasting a bunch of money. All right, you missed a lot of juicy things, Rosalie. Go back and rewatch.
It was important to get somebody on the street to start looking for, and that's what was important. With Scott Peterson, it's not one thing; it's all the things.
Yep.
You just can't point to one in my opinion. Which with $1 I couldn't buy a cup of coffee, but you can't say, okay, this is what happens. Oh, this makes him guilty. No, you have to take a look at the entire picture, and you have to put it all together. And the only way you can do that and do do it right is in the manner in which we did it during deliberations without any outside influences.
Yes.
Mike
Yes.
Belmessieri, juror number 4 in the Scott Peterson trial. I'm so glad you said what you just said, because if you had said anything else, defense attorney Troy Slayton would have had a field.
Well, I got to tell you, everybody here, and including you, Katie, if the DNA does not come back with anything solid, if there's no DNA to test, or it's too degraded, or it doesn't come back to show something relevant, that he's not going to get another trial. All of the evidence that they put into the appellate process, into the paperwork, it's hanging by a thread of that duct tape that I put on Scott Peterson's mouth on the cover or the thumbnail of this. So it's hanging by a small thread. So they could have wrote all they want, and that's great. I'm glad they're giving it a second shot. I mean, I'd certainly want a second shot if I were innocent, but I don't think he is. So we'll see. We'll see. That's why we're here today. We wouldn't even be revisiting this if it weren't for that
day. That you made up your mind the moment you heard the 911 call, but that's not what he said, is it, Slayton?
That's not what he said, but you also didn't ask him if his opinion would change now if he heard new information. And there is new information that is dropping just recently in this 20-year-old case, Nancy.
Straight out to renowned death investigator, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, the star of a hit new podcast series, Body Bags, with Joseph Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, thank you for being with us. What is Geragos claiming now? Using baby Connor's body as some type of exculpatory evidence? What?
Yeah. Hey, look, you can't have it both ways. Remember what the defense team also said. They said that whoever these people were that were responsible for Lacey's death, they actually cut his body out of
No,
hers.
I have
Remember that?
not.
That's what they argued. You can't have it both ways. So the body is intact to a great degree. Remember, they were talking about, you'd mentioned right from the top, Nancy, that Connor's remains were, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, they were not necessarily pristine, but
now, Katie, I'd certainly be interested if you have those documents and it's possible for you to email them to me at guiltyofcrimebyj, or send me a link to guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. I would certainly read the documents and play devil's advocate on another episode, talking about what they're saying, what lines up, what doesn't line up. I'd love to. I mean, this case has weighed heavy on me for many years. And every time I see Scott talk, it just irks me. I did watch that new documentary, and I got to tell you, almost everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. It was something that he lied about, and he was caught in those lies, and he still continues. So maybe he's a bad liar and a cheater, but maybe he's not a killer. And absolutely they're pushing for other reasons, but they're hanging by DNA. Otherwise, we're going to have another circumstantial case
compared to Lacey's body. So that leads us to believe that the body was in fact protected. What I'm saying here is you can't have it both ways. You can't say that some unknown phantom out there, or phantoms, took a knife and removed this baby's precious body from mama's body and disposed of them individually into the bay. It doesn't make sense. So now they want to backtrack and say that, well, gestationally, from the age perspective, that the numbers are all wrong. The initial study that this expert that the prosecution called, those numbers were based on actual 1970 studies from, and I can't remember the exact year, but jump forward, there have been advances.
Published in 1984, the study was published, and that study was what the expert at trial relied upon to age the fetus, Connor.
Yeah, and so one of the things that happens, just so everybody knows this is how we do this. All right, it's very simple. When we have a fetus, we're going to measure gestational age. I would be very curious if this individual that was the expert actually physically held Connor's remains, and did the exam like they did in the morgue. The data that we get from the morgue is based in these areas. We do what's called a crown rump measurement. We do a crown heel measurement. We do head circumference. There's a couple other things, but one of the most important things is that we look at what are referred to as the gyri and sulci, the kind of wavy little lines in the brain. And we get a baseline off of that for age.
And I love that they do that. I love that they did that back then and they're still using that because he is saying that we're going to find him innocent based on the size of Connor and the measurements because the people that were robbing the house took Lacey, kept her for days captive, and then they got rid of her. And it's just bad circumstances. Yes, he was cheating on Lacey. Yes, he told Amber Frey that he lost his wife. Yes, he lied when he was at the vigil, said he was in another place. Yes, he was trying to pursue her. Yes, he made those weights. He made the boat anchors and they match in his garage, but he just has bad circumstances. All right. No, he won't take a lie detector, but yes, he'll go on shows and lie his head off. Right. It wasn't so long ago, but it was. It really was. It was long enough to know that they didn't need DNA evidence. Now he wouldn't have been convicted on that. Well, maybe he would have, but they would have needed more DNA, or we would have had all these Koberger theories. This would have been a total Koberger case where you got these people saying there's no DNA. How did he do it? Wait, what? All coincidence.
Age at 20 weeks, you begin to get gyri, which are these kind of bumps on the brain. Before that, the brain is smooth. So we start off at that level just to try to understand where they are gestationally. The problem is that they're pinning this to just a couple of days. There's no way you can tie it down this closely scientifically.
Right.
When, if ever, was the last time you checked your home's title?
Oh, shit.
After the 24th, such as late as January the 5th. And therefore, since Peterson was under a microscope at that point, he's not the killer. That's the significance of Connor's body. Okay, Bueller, common sense. Lacey's body was extremely decomposed. Okay, Connor's was not. What does that prove? The medical examiner at the time.
I didn't know you were pregnant at the same time Lacey was, Katie. That's crazy. Craziness. I lived in Modesto too, and I was going to that MJC out there. Boy, I hated Modesto, but I love true crime. So when the true crime came, I was like, I'm here for it. So I've been following that case since. And yes, you know, Modesto is like this small town. Everybody knows people. They got these, you know, little farms that one person owns. You know their last name. You know all the people. And so this hit really close to everybody's home. Well, we don't want to say that to everybody. I didn't like it, but you know, also back then you didn't the gays only came out at night, and during the day everybody was straight. So it didn't work so well for me. And now I'm here in the Bay Area, guys. All right. Minimum wage. Minimum wage here, I believe, is $18 an hour in the Bay Area. 18 or $18.75 an hour, something like that.
I'm said that Lacey's body decomposed in the water of San Francisco Bay. One of the last muscles to decompose, the thickest muscle, is the uterus to protect the baby. She was already in great decomposition, and finally her uterus decomposed later than the rest of her body. The uterus came apart, it disintegrated, and baby Connor came out. That's why he was protected from the elements and she was not. Fast forward right now. Since Lacey was so decomposed and Connor was so pristine in comparison, that shoots their theory to hell and back. Does that make sense?
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. But, you know, this is one of those things, they're just trying to throw things against the wall to see what's going to stick. But the only problem is you're just going to have a battle of experts here. And it's going to be up to whoever reviews this information to decide who's right on that. But to me, it's not an exacting science. I'm not a scientist or anything like that, not a biologist. But to me, it's just not an exacting science where you can pin it down to that many days. But if they do, that's going to poke holes in their burglary theory and the things that go along with that.
And why, let me throw this to Al Burkini, why with this new theory that Peterson has come up with, as he's twiddling his thumbs, he's probably having a glass of Pruno behind bars right now. Burkini, how would this new theory they've come up with ruin his burglary theory?
Well, I can tell you one thing. If they think she was alive from the 28th to the January 5th in Modesto, and being hidden somewhere where there's a $500,000 reward out for information for her return. That's crazy. There's nobody in Modesto, those burglars especially.
And remember, he tried to flee as well. He made it all the way down to almost Mexico. He went down there to go golfing. He dyed his hair. He said he didn't want to be recognized by the press or the paparazzi. He had a bunch of cash on him and camping gear and his brother's ID. All right, guys, when you see OJ, the OJ case, and you say that guy is freaking guilty because he ran, right? And now many of us still think OJ is guilty. Many people say now that he died, now we know he's guilty. All right. So what's up, Braddy? I'm glad you're back. First, we were talking about Menendez brothers update. Now we're talking about Scott Peterson and the Lacey Peterson and Connor, his unborn child's death. All right, guys. Now, again, that maybe it'd be good if he got a trial, you guys, because people wouldn't say that. People wouldn't say they wouldn't say that maybe he's not guilty. Maybe we could put that to rest.
Especially, you could buy them off for about $50, $500,000. Somebody is going to talk. She was gone by then. The 24th, she was not in Modesto no more. She was on her way to Berkeley. And that's all I can say about that.
So, Mike, juror number 4, Mike Belmasieri, does anybody really believe that a bunch of men, typically men, in white suits, hold around a microscope, can tell a female juror the exact day of gestational age? Because you know what? My children were born 6 weeks early. Okay. So I don't buy any of that. But what I do buy is the condition of the bodies. Are they trying to argue Lacey was kept alive for all those days?
Well, that's what we're talking about right now, Maggie. If they can prove that somebody kidnapped Lacey and held her captive for 5 days while Scott Peterson was in the spotlight, there's no way he could have done it. And then they get that duct tape with the evidence and it's somebody else's DNA or the people, the robbers with the burnt out van, then there will be another trial. All right, guys. But yeah, there's so much evidence that points to him without DNA. Okay. And I love that. I love that Nancy will bring something into this, and she does always talk about either her twins or her fiance. I love it. You can either hate or love Nancy.
And then sliced open to get Connor, but then they decided, oh yeah, we don't want the baby anymore. Now that we've kidnapped her and taken the baby out of her, we're just going to throw him in San Francisco Bay. What? That doesn't even make sense, Mike.
Frame Scott Peterson.
Nancy, you hit on an interesting point, common sense, but we have to realize common sense is not common, number one. Number two, Garagos put on an expert witness called Dr. March. That's his definition of expertise. We all know how that went. Also, Garagos reaches for a lot of straws. He, on one interview, and I believe Al Brocchini was present with Greg Beraltas, he suggested juror intimidation during deliberations. Well, he wasn't in the room. I was. That's a lie. Regarding the issue of where the bodies were found, I suppose there's some science now that says that he couldn't have done it because they were dumped in a different area. If we all go back to the night or the day prior to the remains being discovered, there was a terrible storm. And so you can't, when you have storms, and I've spent a lot of time on the bay and things change. And so, and as far as the science, we're talking about days. And I don't think that we've come to a point in our lives where science is so exact that we could say this is the absolute. This without any question.
And you got to think, guys, Scott Peterson's freaking sister-in-law spent all these years while he's been in prison getting her degree to become a lawyer to fight for Scott Peterson. And he has a whole team on his side of the LA Innocence Project. So it's not just Marissa with her theory or Katie saying she's read the appellate documents. There's a whole bunch of people, whole group of people that actually think that he's innocent. I just can't get past when he talks. Everything he says is a lie. I mean, we've seen it. We can watch him lie and then go back on those, go back on evidence or documents, or listen to him lie and then lie again and then say, I didn't lie. So it's really hard to believe, with knowing that the first trial, I watched every second. I've rewatched it. I've listened to it. I've heard it, and I'm still following it. And it's hard to believe.
Is when Connor was killed, so to speak. And of course, things in 21 years it's been almost since we issued that verdict. Things have changed, but I don't believe that we're so arrogant to think that we're so good at things, and we aren't. Somebody once told me there's no absolutes. Well, I'll give you an absolute. I'm absolutely convinced that Scott Peterson is guilty of murdering his wife and unborn child.
Mm-hmm.
And when the LA Innocence Project called me, that's exactly what I told them. And they want to say, well, we're going to listen. I go, yeah, I'll listen to anything you have to say. I'm a reasonable man. But, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
You gotta love that. All right, let's get past this.
Contact with Amber, I thought.
All right, every time he talks, guys, pay attention. Just look at her face. That was perfect. If you guys have not watched that Scott Peterson documentary thing on Peacock, I believe, you really should go watch it. Just sit down it's 3 episodes or something like that, and just go watch it. Go watch it. Give it a chance. What's up, Diane? How you doing? You know what I am certain about is that I haven't seen Krista here. And Krista was very unhappy with me for rescheduling the Scott Peterson episode. Where are you at, Krista? I hope you come in and rewatch this and you hear me say, Krista, where are you? All right. How much time out of your life? It's about 3 episodes, probably less than 3 hours, maybe 45 minutes an episode. It is worth a look, though. It is worth a look to watch that. It's him right here. This is part of it in the documentary of him just lying his ass off, lying on the Barbara Walters show. Why lie if you have nothing to hide? What was he hiding? Was it just because he was cheating?
Get into the picture, complicate, ruin the search for missing Connor.
So
what? Okay, that's Scott Peterson and Peacock's Face to Face with Scott Peterson, explaining why he kept leading Amber Fry, his mistress, on after Lacey and Connor went missing. Well, after he killed them, and the community, the nation, was searching frantically for them. He says, I was searching for my family. No, he didn't. And I wanted the search to continue. No, he didn't. And I stayed in contact with Amber so she wouldn't get into the picture and complicate it and ruin the search. Have you ever heard a bigger load, technical legal term, of BS in your life? Let me just throw that out to Brokini. Ever heard a bigger load of stinking, smoking, steaming BS?
I've never heard a bigger load.
All right, there he is when he was trying to get away from the paparazzi. And absolutely, Lacey's parents are in the documentary. They're alive and well. Her mom looks really good. She is 100% on board that Scott did this, all right? She has no doubt.
And for him to predict to Amber 3 weeks before she was missing that he lost his wife, just to keep her, he predicted it. He predicted that he's going to lose his wife 3 weeks before. So I don't know what he's talking about, saying he was keeping her in the.
Yeah, remember he said it would be his first Christmas without Lacey. Boo hoo. Okay, now there is another claim in addition to baby Connor's fetus proves he's innocent. Now there's another claim advanced by the LA Innocence Project. Listen.
Defense attorneys also want to present an analysis by a forensic document examiner who claims it's Lacey Peterson's handwriting and notes on the cost of anchors, indicating Scott Peterson did not buy his boat in secret as part of a plan to kill his wife. Finally, the lawyers say a pawn shop owner will testify that he was contacted by the police about a Croton watch pawned by an associate of one of the Medina burglars on December 31st, just 7 days after Lacey was reported missing. On the stand, investigators testified they never located Lacey's Croton watch.
Well, there go the police lying again in the Scott Peterson case. It's all your fault. I hope you know it. I hope you know that by the time this is over, they're going to claim Burkini and Bueller did it. Okay, Bueller, let's throw this to you. What, did you get up on the stand and lie about the Croton watch? On the face of it right there, I see that it's entirely consistent. They say that a pawn shop owner states police came to investigate the watch that was similar to Lacey's, not Lacey's, but similar. And investigators on the stand state they never located the watch. I don't see what's inconsistent about that.
Yeah, I don't either, because my recall on that is George Stow was the detective that was working the burglary along with several others. And not only were they able not to find the Croton watch, they weren't able to show that any of the property that was associated with the Petersons was ever recovered from the burglars. The burglars surrendered property from several other burglaries besides the one that was across the street at the Menendez house. And they did it almost without being asked, because they were so afraid that when they went to Stanislaus County Jail that they'd be attacked in there because of the victim in this case. And so when it comes to the burglary, it was thoroughly investigated by those guys. And they even polygraphed both of the burglars. And they wanted to parade those results around to the other inmates in the jail to show that they didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting if it does make it back to trial. Now, I got to say, I mean, these cases are so much different. If you guys are a true crimer that's been just watching this and consuming true crime since you can consume true crime, and since the television had enough channels to stream the cases and the trials, you know what I'm talking about. It's a way different crime, way different time. I think if Ted Bundy were on trial today, it would be similar to Koberger. You'd have a bunch of Ted Bundy fans, and they would say he didn't do it. There's no way he could have attacked all the girls in the sorority at one time. And just a different time. Way different time, guys. Thank you, Shelly, for becoming a member. I appreciate you. What's up, Crystal? Good to see you. I still better see Krista. Where are you at, Krista? I have to let the live chat, but it's great as always. See you guys next time. See you later, Teresa. Hopefully to see you guys tomorrow. See you tomorrow on a Friday. We're going to do a call-in. Be ready for that, guys. You guys have to give your name and where you're from if you call in. All right. Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate you. Welcome.
But like Al had said earlier in the broadcast, anybody who was involved in this on the burglary side, for $500,000 to return Lacey, they would have been talking. There's no way that they would.
Were they polyed?
They could have found it. Yeah, they were.
Did they ever take a poly?
Yes, they did. And
I'm so glad you reported that. That's always been a murky question. Were the burglars polygraphed about kidnapping Lacey? And let me throw this to Burkini. Al, the defense is now claiming, in a bid to get Peterson free, that Lacey Peterson really knew about the secret boat that I contend was used to transport her body to the San Francisco Bay and dump her, because of handwritten notes in her handwriting about the cost of the anchors. They say proves she knew all about the boat. Is that true?
Well, there was a handwritten note on the nightstand. I can't say who wrote it, but Scott told me the anchors were too expensive. That's why he made one.
That's why he made one, but there were more than one, and they were found to match exactly in his garage. Okay, that's only one circumstance. That's only one. And thank you, Peanut Butter. You know, for you guys that are here on this channel, like every day, Monday through Friday, and even if you're not, if you guys know that when I'm covering true crime, I'm sensitive to the victims, and many times I talk about personal things or we joke, but you guys are here to watch the channel and see all of the context that we put into the case. So even though we're talking about an unborn baby that is no longer alive, got taken by Scott Peterson, not in my opinion, he's a convicted killer, was on death row, got taken off. We care about the victims, but instead of crying, we got to laugh sometimes about things, right? All right. Yes, he was convicted and he got lucky. He got lucky because California no longer has the death penalty, so they pulled him off. Now, Clark says, my husband cheated on me. I divorced him, got sole custody of my daughter. His dad and uncle came to my shop to take me out for drinks. I refused, but I believe they would have killed. And you know what? Thank you for telling us that. I'm sorry that happened, but that does happen. Those are the things, those are the number one reasons for a couple or a person to be their life to be taken is when someone's either cheating or they're going through a divorce and they don't want to deal with that. I believe Scott did not want a child. Lacey did, but Scott didn't really show any interest, and he was already cheating again. Yes, he probably cheated before, but that doesn't have anything to do, in my opinion, with why he didn't take her life. Those are two of the most crucial times when a woman's pregnant and when they're going through a separation. All right, guys. And that is known facts, known studies. When women are pregnant, they're more likely to get their lives taken. I promise. Look it up. There she is. Krista made it. Thank you. Thank you.
And I talked to the person that sold the boat, and Scott was the only one there. And the only proof I have that Lacey knew anything about the boat was the fact that her hair was found wrapped around a pair of pliers inside the boat when we served the search warrant on the 26th.
Twined in the needle nose pliers.
Okay, well then they're not giving the death penalty, and they took him off because they didn't want to do the death penalty. So I don't know if maybe that's a technicality. If California does have it, but they're not signing it and they're letting people out, then there's not the death penalty in California. I don't think I'd have to look back at the last time somebody was executed. So technicality. He got lucky and was let off.
Not just touching them like a touch transfer of hair, but intertwined in them. Tammy Ballard, crime scene consultant and reconstructionist. What does it mean to you that her hair was intertwined in the needle nose pliers? It was not a transfer of a hair.
That tells me that this was some situation where her hair is probably removed, depending on what kind of root material is present. And very much would expect that to be something that is a good piece of evidence for that.
On and on we hear about the burglary that happened across the street from Lacey's home. I've been to the neighborhood many, many times. It's a beautiful little neighborhood. But hear what Garagos has to say about that.
The prosecution stood up in opening and said she was dead on the 23rd. By the end of the case, they had changed that theory because it had been proven, I think, throughout the case that she was alive on the 24th. That you can have a mountain of circumstantial evidence, but when you change the date dramatically from one day to another on a circumstantial murder case, that alone supplies reasonable doubt.
That was from our friends Harvey Levin at TNZ, Two Angry Men with Mark Garagos. Now, this is
all right, real quick, guys. I looked it up, and the last person that was executed in California was January 17th, 2016, Clarence Ray Allen, and he was on death row for 23 years and 1 month. All right, he was convicted of organizing the taking of lives of Byron, 27, Douglas, 18, Josephine, 17. So it looked like he took the lives and organized the taking of lives of multiple people. His last meal was a buffalo steak, Kentucky Fried Chicken, black walnut ice cream, and whole milk. His last words were, first of all, I'd like to say how good the last meal was and how much I enjoyed it. Anyway, he went on and on and on. Executed January 17, 2006. And then before that, it goes back. There's several people throughout, 2005, 2001, 2099, and it goes back to 1978. After that, California has gotten soft. All right. And they did. Many people say, give lie detector tests. And then in the next breath, well, doesn't matter in court. But then you take a lie detector test, you pass it, and you still say, well, they probably did it. Just a lot of things don't add up in this case for me.
Significance of the burglary. Actually, Christine Lazar joining me, Emmy award-winning investigative reporter, KCAL, CBS. What is the significance? How is the defense using the burglary across the street to suggest Lacey was taken in connection with the burglary? What do they say?
they're trying to come up with a different motive and say that Lacey saw the burglars, interrupted a burglary, or questioned them, and then they essentially had to take her and get rid of her because she was a witness. But, as others have pointed out, there was so many people looking for Lacey Peterson. There was a lot of money that was offered as a reward. I find it hard to believe, having sat through the trial, that is a plausible motive and that she wouldn't have been found alive had it been burglars who took her and not her own husband.
Please join us on our
from the Chino prison
There
with
he
a
is.
lieutenant who had overheard a prisoner talking to his relative, talking about the burglary and talking about Lacey, and the brother or the relative telling him to shut up.
A prison guard overheard Lacey's name on one of the burglars' phone calls. The prison guard says the burglars started to discuss Lacey seeing and confronting them, but the person on the line told him to stop talking. The lawyers claim the eyewitness account is exculpatory because it shows Lacey was still alive after the Medenas left home around 10:30 a.m.
Yeah, there was a burglary across the street from my home. There were a lot of people home. And I believe that Lacey went over there to see what was going on. And she was taken.
Okay, you were just hearing.
Well, I'm sure she did. She was uber pregnant, guys, and she went across the street to go check on burglars. Then they kidnapped her, and then everything else was put on to Scott. Bad circumstances, poor guy, right? Some Shawshank BS. I wish they would just do this trial, get it over with, and see what the jury says now in 2000 and by the time it happens, it'll be 2027, 2028,
Our friends at Two Angry Men podcast, Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos, and Peacock's Face to Face with Scott Peterson. Hold on. Straight to Al Burkini. So the state hands the defense a document that says,
I see, Krista.
A lieutenant within the jail overhears an inmate speaking to a relative. They hear Lacey's name come up. And then somebody says, stop talking, stop talking.
That's because they had MapQuest, One Love. What are you talking about? MapQuest said wrong address and you couldn't delete it and go back. You had to use that MapQuest address. The MapQuest address went to the house across the street. Lacey was so pregnant, but she was going to go check out what burglary some suspicious burglars in the van were doing. I'm sure that's what happened. I'm pretty sure. Just kidding. What's up, Bobby? How you doing, my friend?
What, if anything, does that prove? Lacey, as it relates to the burglary. That's it?
Well, that was pretty well investigated after we found out about it. I mean, they went down, interviewed that lieutenant. He couldn't find the tapes, couldn't find the log where there was any names. And eventually he recanted. And that came up even from the defense attorney, said that he recanted all that. I don't know if he said it for money or if he said it for reward, but he recanted. There's no tape. There's no log where anybody where you have to log in that somebody's making a phone call or he's on the phone. And so I don't think that holds any water or does any good for Scott Peterson.
Dr. Jory Crossan joining me, renowned psychologist, faculty, St. Leo University, author of Operation SOS. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. This is excruciating to Lacey's family. Sharon Rocha's husband, Ron Gransky, has passed away. Now she's all alone. She has her son still alive. This reopens the wounds again. I mean, it gets jurors, investigators upset to hear these wild claims. But what does it do to Lacey's family?
Being a victim yourself to violence, experiencing it.
Hold on. Something else is playing here. My bad. All right. I put this back on.
It re-traumatizes and it takes you right back to that very moment. Okay. Even though it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
Rest assured, myself also being a victim of violence resulting in death, you relive that moment. It takes you right back to it, re-traumatizes you. It disrupts.
I also do believe not only prayers for the family, guys, because that's heart-wrenching. When you watch the documentary and you hear Lacey's family and how they had to move on, they didn't want to move on from her. They had to, because this monster, not in my opinion, but by a jury of 12, was convicted, put on death row, taken off. All right. I believe when he left that morning to go fishing, that he opened the gate and let the dog out The neighbor did come back and bring the dog and said it was unusual, but that's because Scott says, oh, she probably took the dog for a walk and then got kidnapped and they left the dog. All right. All right. Yeah, this episode is from less than 2 weeks ago. That's why we're hearing all the updates now.
Interrupts your sleep. Then you start to build like, what if he does get a new trial? What if he does do this, all that starts to build out. It's just the way our system is built, where he can challenge these things. But the victims, once again, are being re-victimized.
And I got to say, Amber Fry, kudos to Amber Fry, you guys. If Amber Fry wouldn't have done what she did and gone undercover and recorded the tapes, number one, she would have been another mistress, right? Another Nicole Kessinger, Chris Watts, right? That she'd have been another one of those. People would have she would have had to go in hiding, guys. But I do give Amber Fry props for that. Yeah, she made a book. Yeah, she made money. I don't think that she would have chose that because her life became, in the media. People were calling her, all kinds of names. And she didn't know. Scott said he lost his wife. She had no idea, right? Amber Fry is a baddie. I got to give her that. She's in the new documentary too. You guys, it's worth a look.
And being re-traumatized by this whole new episode that's developing.
And how can one strip of duct tape demand Scott Peterson be released?
Peterson's new defense says multiple witnesses tied the orange van found burned near the Modesto airport to the burglary at the Menendez's home, and the stained mattress in the back should have been tested more thoroughly after presumptively testing positive for blood. While testing of a small sample only revealed a male profile, the Innocence Project argues the entire mattress should have been tested, despite a judge disagreeing with them on the same point last year.
This was brought up to the...
All right, quickly, guys. I might have a new Patreon. I wish you could sign up, Swimming in Circles, but I just created a new Patreon. My other one is under review. I'm really new at YouTube and Patreon and all that. So one of my videos got flagged, which I kind of knew it would, and Patreon took it down. I did create another one, so I'm gonna wait, and then I'll let you guys all know about my Patreon. It's not the end of the world. I have started another one and already started sharing things. So for those of you that were subscribed to my Patreon, I apologize for that. But I did create another one, and I will create a post, and then my mods will drop the Patreon link in all the episodes. But for right now, I'm waiting for my new Patreon to be approved and see if they'll bring the old Patreon back. So thank you for even asking. I appreciate you guys and your support. All right. Thank you.
The judge, Christine Lazar, joining us from KCAL-CBS-LA. The judge said, okay, the mattress has already been tested. That's male DNA. What the defense is claiming is that this van, this orange van that was burned up shortly after Lacey went missing, shortly after the burglary, there it is somehow connected to the burglary. They've extrapolated that this must be connected. There was a burned out mattress in the back of it. That was tested. It showed male DNA, but there was a piece of duct tape found stuck to Lacey's leg. All right. The defense is now arguing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the guilty of crime scenes nowadays, guys, but it too shall pass. Hey, we won't talk about it on the channel. We're here to present cases, all cases. I present all cases. Sometimes you guys are like, wait, what? I thought Jay was just covering the Madeline Soto case, or just no, I cover all cases, guys. And I'm in this to do this with you and for you, and I'm going to keep coming. So if my Patreon gets taken, I'm going to put another one up, guys. So yeah, somebody reported it. I know exactly who. And it's okay. It's all good. You can't, it's good versus evil here at this point, guys. And we're on the good side. I know I am. So it's all good. I'll let you guys know, though. And in the meantime, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, there's a new Patreon. I'll let you guys know about it, Ashton. But, you guys have been here. Most of you guys have been here since day one of me starting this. And you guys know what I do. You understand my context and who I am. And I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, I hope that not only are these episodes are the episodes are something that you can really retain and learn from, but also they keep you locked in, and I keep you entertained, right? Because that's what you're here for. You're here for the entertainment and the true crime. All right. I appreciate you guys. Love you all.
The mattress in the back of the van was not tested enough, and they want more testing on that. What do they want tested? Why do they want the duct tape found on Lacey's leg tested?
That's what I thought too.
Well, look, they're looking for other DNA evidence. They're looking for a way to link her murder to someone else, to the burglars. To me, again, as someone who sat through the trial, it feels like they're grasping for straws. But that's what they're doing right now. I will say here in Los Angeles, in this newsroom, we were all very surprised when the LA Innocence Project took up this case.
Thank you.
Judge Scott Morgan, what could they possibly want with the piece of...
And just so you guys know, some people know of the Innocence Project. You guys have heard of the Innocence Project. It is not affiliated with the LA Innocence Project. All right. So you saw some comments earlier where somebody said, "Oh, I feel bad for Innocence Project that's being affiliated." It's not affiliated at all. All right. So just want to let you guys know. And yes, #1 crime crew. I think that we're by this time next year, we're going to have grown significantly. And I think we're doing a good job with the community building with you guys and trying to keep you guys happy and motivated and to be part of the fam. We're going to do lots more giveaways. All right. And we're going to have lots more things for you guys to stay locked in. So thank you. Yes, I do. I love covering all cases.
Duct tape that was on Lacey's leg after all that time in the water.
Well, one of the things that we're looking for, what are referred to as plastic prints, that is in the adhesive on the tape itself. If it's protected in any way, say that part that's adherent to her leg, did anybody touch the adherent side with their bare hand? You can get a print off that. They would also want to look for any kind of hair deposition.
Look at that,
because
guys.
it can catch hair at any moment in time. Tape can. We've all experienced that over the years. And certainly if it was like torn, if you grab it with your teeth, which, you know, I've done over the years, and you tear the tape, you can do a deposition of saliva on there. So those are the things that I guess in a perfect world they'd be hoping for. But we're talking about a body that was in San Francisco Bay, Nancy. That's a very harsh environment. I don't know what they would be able to recover. Well, yeah. I mean, and I'm a fisherman, and there's all kinds of stuff that collects on.
And I do got to tell you, if you guys are from California or you've been to the Bay in San Francisco, that is not a place where you would go take that little rinky-dink boat. Again, I'm not talking shit about anyone's boat. I'm talking about that boat where he supposedly went fishing and the body was found. That is not a boat that you take out to that bay at all. All right. And if you know, you know, right? You can hear him say that all day, or you can see the waters and see how it is. That was for one thing. He bought that boat for one thing, you guys.
All types of items out there.
There's another issue related to this. Troy Slayton joining me, renowned LA criminal defense attorney. Troy, it was months ago that the judge ordered further DNA testing on that piece of duct tape attached to Lacey's leg. I think she was still wearing pants attached to that. And don't you know, Troy Slayton, the judge said you got 45 days to complete the testing.
Thank you.
It needed to be testing. That was 45 days from her July 24th ruling. Don't you know, if that duct tape had revealed anything that exonerated Scott Peterson, they would have been running back and forth in front of the courthouse with it, waving it. He's innocent. But we haven't heard a word. One of the first times Garagos has shut his pie hole ever. Don't you know, if that had come back to exonerate Peterson, we'd all be hearing about it?
Well, we wouldn't, Nancy, because one of the important parts about the judge's order, where she laid out very specifically how this private company is to conduct the testing, she said that any results are to be returned to the court under seal, which means that nobody's allowed to talk about it, nobody's allowed to see it, nobody's allowed to know about it except the court. So there wouldn't be waving it around in front of the courthouse, and no one would be allowed to talk about it.
You came to me earlier in December and told me that you had lost your wife.
There's Amber, guys.
Your wife's missing? She's alive. Where? She's alive? The media has been telling everyone that I had something to do with her disappearance.
I met Scott Peterson November 20th.
Here's the part,
2002.
guys.
I was introduced to him. I was told he was unmarried. Scott told me he was not married. We did have a romantic relationship. When I discovered he was involved in the Lacey Peterson disappearance case, I immediately contacted the Modesto Police Department.
Amber Fry had no idea Peterson was married. Hey, Troy Slayton, were you listening to that? Where she said, well, she's alive. And he completely ignored that, didn't answer that. He's still leading on his mistress. He's still, here's another technical legal phrase, wants to get in her pants. Still, his wife is missing. And he is still calling Amber Fry, trying to get with her.
Well, that recording, Nancy, was at the behest of the police department. She became an agent of the government by conducting surveillance and surreptitious recordings of Peterson.
And he was taking Christmas pictures with Amber Fry, you guys, while his very pregnant wife was at a party by herself, taking Christmas pictures by herself. So, again, I'm just going to tell you, Scott Peterson was or is guilty. He's been convicted. He was on death row. He's off. So when I say, I don't have to say in my opinion in this case, because he has been proven to be guilty and he's been convicted. All right, Foxy Amazon loves you guys so much that she's giving out 2 Foxy Baubles to celebrate the Menendez brothers resentencing, guys. So stay here. The Foxy stuff is always really cool. It's much cooler than the stuff that I give away, right? So stay here because it's always fun. It's always fun to win stuff, right?
And so, yes,
I've
have you ever known a man
Troy
to lie?
Slayton
Have you ever
life go,
Have you ever known someone to lie in order to have sex? Oh my goodness. Should that be crazy to everybody?
Yeah, actually, that I agree with, but not while your wife and unborn baby are missing. No, I haven't. Just Peterson. You know what? Let's put the icing on the cake. Listen.
Amber. 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 I can hear you. Amber, if you can hear me, it's New Year's. I know. I can hear you. Amber, it's New Year's here. Are you there? Amber. Hey, Happy New Year's.
Oh, this is the best part of this whole case. I love this when he's talking to Amber Fry. Hey, Happy New Year. I'm at the Eiffel Tower. It must be midnight over there, whatever. Over here, it's, and he's been lying. He's lying. Like, she knows he's lying. I love this part. Love this. This is one of my favorite parts.
I want to call you. Thank you. Amber, you there? Yeah. Amber. I wish you could hear me. I'm on the, I think that you're there. I'm near the Eiffel Tower. New Year's celebration is unreal. The crowd is huge.
Yeah, the crowd is huge. At your wife's vigil. The crowd is huge. There you hear Troy Slayton. Scott Peterson. Now remember, she goes missing December 24. This is New Year's Eve, December 31, midnight. And he is calling from Lacey's
vigil.
Calling his mistress.
That's like if Jen the Potato Soto, which we know she didn't go to Maddie's vigil or funeral or anything, right? If she was calling somebody or calling Stefan, hey, Stefan, and just telling a bunch of lies and we can hear it. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Eiffel Tower equals Lacey's vigil, but he was on TV and it was being streamed. And he was in there with his hat on doing the vigil, trying to hide. Again, just because you're a cheater and a fraudster and a liar doesn't mean you're a murderer. But in this case, it does, because he's convicted, and I hope he stays that way. But I do want to see more evidence. And Katie, please do email that to me.
Pending, he's ringing in the new year in Paris. Now, you seem to argue that Scott Peterson's intent was not nefarious because police were recording it. What does their recording have to do with what's going on in his pants?
No, what I'm saying is a man is lying in order to try and have sex with this woman. That's what he's doing. It's very simple.
You know,
it's very
I'm just going to
base,
stop you right
and-
there.
and it's
To
an idea
Mike
that goes back thousands
to
of
Mike
years.
Belmessieri, Mike, you are the juror number 4. Response.
I'm also a man, and I understand what Troy's saying. But, you know, even if we were to remove the fact that he was probably one of the greatest lion studs in the world, and his motivation was to have sex with Amber, there's so much more to the story. And you know, again, it is a simple thing. You have to judge based on the entire story and not just part of it with Scott Peterson.
Yeah.
You know, there are a chain of events, and Garrigo spoke about behavior. Well, yeah, you know, I don't care what the crime is. I don't care what the trial's about. It'll always come down to behavior and what is the norm or what we expect from people. Now, you take that and don't necessarily bias your opinion on some things, but take a look at the entire story. Yes, I was hoping for infertility. I didn't want children, is what he was saying. To, you know, his affair with Amber Fry, his behavior, as you know, we was just indicated when he said he was.
And just quickly, guys, don't forget, hit the like and put a comment in chat, because we're going to give away some Foxy Baubles real soon here. And if you haven't put your DNA on the like button or you haven't commented, then you're not going to be able to win. Now, Teresina didn't lie about, I don't think I would never call Teresina a liar about anything, but I did have somebody call me about a month ago, and they personally told me that they were at the private funeral of Maddie and that they did not see Jen there. And I asked other people, again, when I talk to these people, it's Florida people. I am not talking about Jenny or any of those advocates. I've made so many other like Florida friends and people. No, I don't work with any of them. I've done videos with them. I don't work for anybody. I don't work with anybody. But the person that called me said Jen Soto was not at that funeral. And then another person told me she was at the beginning of that funeral. No, Teresina, I would never call Teresina a liar about anything. Teresina is the only one that has been there in person for things and showed up for things. So, yeah, I'm surprised you even know who Teresina is. Most people don't. Right? They had a private funeral for Maddie, which was put on by Yolanda Zambrano and that family. And then there was another funeral, and that funeral had everybody there, like Tyler and all of them. So again, somebody called and said, I was at that private funeral. I did not see Jen. Maybe she came in the beginning. I wasn't there. I can't attest to that. But I wouldn't call anyone a liar, except for Jen Soto and Scott Peterson. All right.
Was in Paris and his wife is missing. What is reasonable? You know, when he's in the room being questioned by, I believe it was you, Al Brocchini, and his phone rings and he picks it up.
Okay, so there's different funerals swimming in circles. There are different funerals. We're talking about the private one, and then we're talking about the one that everybody was at. She wasn't at the second one. I heard she wasn't at the first one, so I'm not trying to contradict anybody's statement. I'm just telling you what I heard, and we all want justice for Maddie. If you know somebody in that circle, let's find out. But from what I heard, Jen was not at any of the funerals. All right. So that's what I'm going to say about that. I'm not trying to contradict myself or anybody else for that matter, ever. I am saying that. I am saying that she didn't go to any of the funerals. It's not a fact because I was there. It's a fact because that's what I was told. It's in my opinion. I wasn't there. All right. Okay, so Teresina said Jen was there. Okay, well, the lady that said Jen wasn't there and the people that said Jen wasn't there won't let me put their name in writing. So maybe I'm going to go with Teresina, and I'm going to say Jen was at the first funeral, but not at the second. How about that? Again, we're not talking about the Maddie case today. But if if you want to talk about it afterwards, we can talk about it. But I don't want to interrupt this one. All right. All right. Who's
It's his sister-in-law, and he very casually
we would have
talks to her. And for the normal human being, if normal is really something that exists, would you not be a little concerned about, hey, what's going on? Is she with you? No, he just kind of blows it off and very casual about everything. It just makes no sense. And if it doesn't make sense, there's got to be more to the.
If it doesn't make sense, there's got to be more to it. And I just brought it up, and I just gave you the very valid answer that I have. All right, your genuine question, I gave you a genuine answer to. So if you guys didn't hear my answer like 3 separate times, that was my answer. I wasn't at the funeral. I was told that Jen wasn't at the funeral. If Teresina said Jen was there, then I believe her. But from what I was told, Jen Soto was not there, and the lady will not let me put her name in an article. Did I answer that, guys? Okay, thank you. Now back to Scott Peterson.
To the issue.
You are hearing Mike Belmessieri
Thank you,
speaking juror
Krista.
number 4
I thought I wasn't
in the
speaking.
Scott Peterson trial. Yes, it ain't over yet. And now we remember American hero police officer Christopher Ferrari.
All right, guys. I love that she does this at the end of her show. Arizona 4/30, 2021. I'm gonna drop one more Scott Peterson thing when his very first interview back after 20 years. So get the likes in, get your comments in, guys. And swimming, I don't know your name, swimming in circles. If you didn't, I don't know why anybody would leave when I was answering your question. I literally answered your question 7 ways from Sunday. So I don't know why you would leave, but okay. Have a good evening or afternoon or wherever you are. I literally went out of my way to answer the question the best of my ability, and yet I still offended somebody. Okay. All right, guys. All right. Yeah, you guys do hear me, right? Can you hear me? This is going to get clipped. This part's going to get clipped, and there's going to be a new video out, guys. Don't worry. All right, 20 years after, and then we're going to give away some baubles. Oh, yeah, they're at every show, guys. They're at every show. First, it's justice for Maddie, but now it's just everything, all right? It's because if they were... It's caused, I asked... Oh, okay. Well, yeah, since maybe we don't need to ask that. We know if they are or they're not, right? All right, let's listen to this, and then we're going to give away a couple of baubles.
It's the chilling case that's still a national obsession.
He didn't want to be a father, and this is the way he thought about getting out of it.
Now, for the first time since going to prison, convicted murderer Scott Peterson is speaking out.
Why should anyone want to hear your side of the story?
Because I didn't kill my family.
In Face to Face with Scott Peterson by Peacock, a division of our parent company Comcast, the 51-year-old gives his own version of events from behind prison walls.
All right, this gives you a little insight to that, and if you guys want to spend some time watching it, please do. All right, you don't know how to be a member? Well, we have links to become a member, and we also give memberships away quite a bit. So, thank you for being here, guys, and keep on trucking. We're about to give some things away. Good to see you, Deb, and everybody that comes here for all the cases.
Interviews done over an entire year, Peterson, appearing in good health with longer hair, continues to maintain his innocence and is confident in ongoing efforts to free him.
There's no forensic evidence. There's nothing to tie him to the murder.
Again, no forensic evidence, all right? And yeah, just being courteous. But yeah, people need content, Sharon. People need content. Now clip that.
Peterson was sentenced to death in 2004 for the 2002 murders of his wife Lacey and their unborn son Connor after their bodies washed up in San Francisco Bay near where Peterson said he'd gone fishing months earlier.
She trusted her husband and he betrayed her.
In the Netflix docuseries American Murder, Lacey Peterson, Lacey's at the center of the story. Her mother, Sharon Rocha, speaking out for the first time in years about Peterson's conviction.
I can't say we were all excited and happy about it. That's not the feeling that I had at all. Just a relief.
Also speaking out, Peterson's former girlfriend, Amber Fry, whose decision to come forward about their relationship helped prosecutors establish a motive.
On the stand, I wasn't just sitting there alone, but I was sitting there for Lacey and her unborn child.
In face-to-face, Peterson admits his affair with Fry was a terrible mistake, saying he withheld that information from police to focus on finding Lacey. In 2020, California's Supreme Court overturned Peterson's death sentence, citing jury selection errors by the trial judge, and resentenced him to life without parole. He was denied a new trial in 2022. Now backed by the LA Innocence Project, Peterson is trying again.
My bad. I was muted for a second. He doesn't look terrible, but he kind of looks like a grease ball, like he has. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Hold on. The reason so many people latched onto this case is because Lacey was like this hometown girl. If you go to Modesto and you go to that area, you guys, there's a lot of Portuguese communities there, and she was in the Portuguese community. I don't think I wouldn't want to answer that if that's his last appeal, because this may be a whole new trial. I'm not quite sure. It just doesn't just switch over. I don't know what you guys are talking about right now.
So let's pick it up there. What are the next steps as Peter tries to get this new trial?
So his team is trying to win a new trial by finding new evidence, especially DNA evidence with advancing technology. So far, the court has only agreed to allow new DNA testing of a single piece of duct tape that was found on Lacey Peterson's pants. Prosecutors, in the meantime, are calling this a fishing expedition, and Scott Peterson's family continues to maintain his innocence, and they believe that the new evidence will show that he's innocent.
All right, Emily, thank you. We should mention that the docuseries Face to Face with Scott Peterson will be streaming on Peacock August 20th.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern.
All right, guys. He looks so much different, doesn't he? Okay, guys, let's give away some Foxy Baubles, guys, and hit the like button. Support the channel and understand, guys, as a community, we have a small stream here today. But just be prepared for people that want to come in and just be assholes. If you guys know about all the things going on in the behind the scenes of Guilty of Crime, it's so much bigger, right? So just ignore them. The more you feed, the more they clip, all right? The more content that they clip. Space Cases, I'm usually a silent viewer, but I'm always here. I look forward to your lives. I respect everything you do for our true crime community. Guilty of Crime is #1 in my book. Thank you. I hope you win something now that you're entered. Let's go. All right, guys. Hopefully it doesn't make me sign in again. And go. Oh, in the U.S., of course. We got to say that, everyone. Shipping in the U.S. only. Foxy's not rich here, guys. Cindy Lou, are you here? Cindy Lou. Cindy, I didn't even see Cindy here tonight, but maybe she's one of the lurkers. All right. You tell me what we need to do. I'll put Guilty of Prizes on, and I'll do the next one. You have 3 days to collect the Guilty of Prizes at gmail.com. All right. And yeah, you guys, I try to interact with you guys. If I stop interacting with you guys, it's because of the people in chat. All right. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to stop talking to you guys and interacting with you guys. So we got to ignore the people. I was trying to be nice and answer questions. All right, let's go. Let's win the next one, guys. Come on. She's here. Yep. And you're in the US, right? Antonia Beauvais. I cannot remember without writing things down. Antonia Beauvais, are you here? Are you here? Is she here, guys? All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. I do appreciate that. And I have something on. I think it's coming it's going to be shipped out this weekend for you, Sharon. Tiff is not here today, who is our merchandise girl and our mod. So, Sharon, thank you so much. Antonia is here. Antonia, are you in the United States? All right. Are you in the U.S.? If so, please send an email to guiltyofprizes@gmail.com and get yourself a Foxy Bobble. Now, Carolina, I am sure that Foxy Amazon is putting together your prize box. I know that she is a little bit behind, or a little bit, maybe not behind, but on top of it. So, Foxy, let Carolina know your box did not get lost. I promise you. She's sending the tracking number. Sometimes it takes us like multiple weeks to be able to ship things out. Right, Carolina? So you email guiltyofprizes@gmail.com. Yeah, congratulations to the winners. All right. Thank you, guys. We've been here for almost 2 hours. We did an update on the Menendez case. All right. Good to see you, Roxanne. You just rolled in. You got to replay. I'm going to bring the proof. All right. How does Chris Proudfoot say it? I'm going to bring the proof. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. If you did win something, email guiltyofprizes@gmail.com. If you won something before and you want to email about a tracking number, please do email guiltyofprizes@gmail.com and she will give you the tracking or whatever it is that you guys want. Christy, thank you for finding the channel. Teresa, you can only win Foxy boxes by being here, and then you comment and we put you in a drawing. All right. We do have merchandise on guiltyofcrime.com. So if you want Guilty of Crime gear, which is what essentially we're giving away or selling, then go to guiltyofcrime.com. All right, guys, I love you. Go back, watch, do whatever you want. Watch, clip, make more content. We love you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for being here, Krista. I specifically did this episode in honor of you. All right. I didn't want to let you down, Krista. All right. You guys have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Hit the like button and share it on your way out. Good night, y'all.
Guilty of Crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of Crime.
Are you guilty of crime?